have a big inspiration for everyone. Um, how um, how do you manage to have such a positive outlook on life? Please share your experience uh, so others can benefit it too.
See, I initially after my accident, of course, I'm human. I had given up. Nobody wants to live a life on a bed, not a young person. You know, you don't. If you cannot, all the dreams and all the plans that I had made in my life, they just go. I was robbed of them in a single second. A second was all it took to just rob me of all my dreams, my hopes, my plans. You know. So for initially I was depressed. I was very depressed. I used to cry all the time. I was like, what was even the point of living? You know, what is this life? I'm dependent on for each and everything to my family. I am bedridden. I cannot go out. I cannot go to college. I cannot do simple things that I want to do for myself. But once I remember my sister was like, see, Sana, that you have been given a life, okay? Allah has given you one. So it is now up to you to choose how you live it. Do you want to cry all the time, moan all the time, crib, and remember all the things that you've lost, or you just embrace your life as it is, make it into something better with whatever is given to you, and just move on. And like they say that when you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. So I think at a point came when I was so done. I was so done crying for myself. I was so done feeling sorry for myself that I was like, okay, that is not me. I am not this person. So come on, let's pick up all the broken pieces, try to stick them together, and let's see what I can make of my life. It might not be the life that I had planned, but it could be a life that would work for me. And alhamdulillah, I haven't looked back since. The journey has been tough. When I started studying, I cannot write, so I used to get a writer for me. I used to dictate each and every word. But these are small obstacles. It doesn't matter. I do not believe in making excuses for myself, because that's not the kind of person that I am. So yeah, you got to make the most of your situation. You have to make the most of your circumstances. They might not always be how you want them to be, but that should not let you stop dreaming. That should not let you stop living. Wonderful.
In education and financial independence and the lives of individuals.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you asked me about financial independence before too, as well. So everybody, nobody wants to be dependent on other people. See, so education, like I said before, education gives you the tool to live a life and plan a life and grab the opportunities that come your way. It gives you a platform on which you can build a solid foundation for yourself. So, and that education leads up to the financial independence leads up to that. So yeah, the first step is education, is becoming at par with everybody else. And people with different abilities, people with disabilities, they are people first. Their disability is just a part of them. So like everybody else who has talents. Some can sing, some are good at math, some are good at art. So like that, people with disabilities or people with different abilities, they have their own hidden talents. You just need to give them a chance to recognize those talents in themselves and make the most use out of them. And giving a differently abled person a seat in your college, or a place in your school, or a job in your office is not a favor to them, because it is a basic human right, and people with disabilities are humans first and the disabilities come later. So like any other citizen of this country or any other country, they deserve access to fundamental rights like everybody else. And financial independence, it ensures a dignified and a graceful life. Nobody wants to beg, nobody wants to be dependent when they can't help it. See, you are dependent on for some things on other people and you can't help that, but the things that you can do for yourself, why should you not?
Okay, so my first question is that how important is psychological therapy for people who encounter physical traumas similar to your own experience?
Sorry, I missed it. What therapy?
psychological therapy?
Okay. Oh, it is very important. See, because not everybody can handle trauma. Your loved ones are there for you, you know that. But it helps to seek help from a total stranger who knows how to deal with trauma. So certified psychologists and certified counselors, they help you in ways in which your loved ones can see. I'll tell you from my experience. When I had my accident, and of course I was depressed a lot of time, but there came a point when I didn't want to be depressed, because what I felt, if I was sad, then my mood used to set the tone for my whole family. If I was sad, they all became sad. So you sometimes you try to hide the grief, you try to hide your inner feelings just for the sake of your loved ones, not to make them sad. So it always helps to have like a neutral person, a stranger who can come and or you can go to and talk, and they are equipped and they know how to deal with trauma and how to deal with your problem. And sometimes you just need somebody to listen to you. You don't even need any kind of advice. You just need to vent. You just need to get a lot of stuff out of your chest and just say it out aloud, and even simply doing that makes you happy. So counseling and therapy is a must. There is no stigma attached to that. There is no label that needs to be put on anybody who seeks counseling or therapy. It is just a part of life, and you don't even need to have a mental issue to seek therapy. Anybody can go and do it, because the kind of environment that we live in, and even simply, even if you are a student, the sort of stress that we are given over our grades, and this whole competition and this competitive environment that we are in, we do need to we need to relax and take a step back, and we need somebody to tell us that, oh, it's okay, breathe, stop, just relax, inhale, exhale. And seeking therapy, seeking counseling, it's a must, and everybody should do that, even if you feel you don't have a sort of an issue or an illness or a certified condition. Even if you're feeling anxious and you take a lot of stress, go to a therapist, go seek counseling. It helps. There is no stigma, or it's not a big deal. It's just a part of life.
And toilets for differently abled people in workplaces, malls, and restaurants. However, this is not the case in Pakistan. What do you think is the biggest obstacle in making public places more accessible in Pakistan?
Making the public places accessible in Pakistan is the will of the people who are in charge of making these public places accessible. So I used to go out because I spent my summers in England for the past so many years, and over there, roaming around, going anywhere and everywhere, it's not a big deal. I don't need to plan ahead. I don't need to think ahead. I don't even think that, oh, let's plan to go there, and I don't need to check if that place is accessible or not, because access is a given over there, and it's understood that of course it's going to be accessible. Sadly, that's not the case in Pakistan. So currently I've been pursuing a case in the High Court to make public and commercial places accessible. But the thing is, what I have found in this whole journey for accessibility that I have been going through personally is the lack of will. The people who are in charge of making these buildings and who are in charge of approving the plans for these buildings, they do not seem to comprehend what a ramp means to a person with limited mobility. They they think because they don't see a lot of people on wheelchairs or with impaired mobility, they think that making a ramp is a waste. What they do not understand is that if your building is not accessible, how is a person, a wheelchair user or a person with mobility issues, supposed to come out and visit your building? So it's a vicious cycle. It's like anything else. People who don't suffer from an issue, they are totally indifferent to it. But I'm glad that if I call out, so I've started recently that I call out buildings and places which do not cater to people with special needs, and a lot of time people on their own initiative, a private citizen, they do make an effort and start making their building accessible, because for the people do have a nice civic sense. I mean, the majority of the people. So if you just call them out and tell them where they're wrong, they do take steps to correct that. But generally at a government level, there is a lack of will, which hopefully let's see where my petition goes, and like anything else, it'll be enforced and they might be fined, and that might make them understand. And public toilets, Pakistan has, I think they don't even have any concept of that. Even the law does not include making accessible toilets. It's just about a ramp and a parking space, that's it. But yeah, let's see, I am pursuing a case, and let's see, hopefully, inshallah, in the near future, things might change. Because I think so far, even initially when I hadn't filed this case, I used to go to buildings and I used to see there was no ramp, and I used to just get lifted and just come back home and just crib and talk about how people had not made ramps. And then one day I decided that I was no better than the people I was complaining about, because I never raised that issue. So I think, like anything else, you need to raise an issue. One person has to stand up and speak for everybody else, and even it's just if you take one step, that's like the start of a journey, and the rest just follows. So the first step is difficult, but hopefully if you take that, you gather the courage to take that first step, the journey will be complete, inshallah. So sometimes it just takes one voice to raise an issue and it comes to the forefront. So I was used to be very self-conscious as well, like, and I used to be very discouraged that, oh, even if I say, what's gonna happen? But then I was like, no, let's give it a try. So I started writing letters left, right and center, and a lot of people responded and they made ramps, and I see ramps at so many restaurants, and I feel so happy, and it gives me this great sense of pride and achievement that and then I think that why had I wasted so yeah. And it can be any issue, it doesn't need to even affect you personally, but if you feel that something is lacking, then don't forget to talk about it.
Yeah.
Law, a regulation which makes it mandatory for a ramp, and I think it's a disabled toilet to be present in every public and commercial building. So when we went to the LDA office, the LDA office was in violation of its own regulation. So that sort of shows you the mindset that they had, because like I said before, because the issue does not affect them directly, they are totally indifferent to it. And the general perception and the general idea, sadly in our country, is that if you cannot if you are disabled and if you have some sort of disability and if you have some sort of problems, you should just stay at home. Why are you even out? Maybe going out is not meant for you. So it's such an inherent part of their DNA, because it does not affect them personally, they don't think about it. That's simple as that. It's just pure selfishness, indifference and callousness at some level as well. Because when me and my legal team, when we made a whole list of buildings that weren't accessible, the town planner kept on insisting, no, you are wrong, your list is wrong, these buildings do have a ramp. And we were like, you're most welcome to go and observe, there is no access in that building. But like, the ego plays a big part. They don't want to admit their mistakes. It's as simple as that. Obviously in every employment sector had to give like 2% quota for people with disabilities, and recently the government has taken that back. So yeah, at a government level, if you see this kind of indifference, then how can you blame the common public? They already feel there is such negative aspects associated with people with disabilities, and they label them as burdens, and it's always with people with special needs. They make them distant from themselves, that they are not a part of us. So the general perception is already to regard people with disabilities as burden entities, as if they don't have a right to live and to lead a full and productive life. So when at a government level such sort of legislation comes which takes away the already very small meager 2% quota which used to ensure jobs for the people with disabilities, that plays a big role in enforcing that negative attitude of the people. And I don't know, it's like, but I am a very optimistic person, and I feel that the more people talk about their disabilities and come out of their shells and come out of their homes, then people will generally see them for who they are, not for the disabilities that they have. And let's see if the whole nation rises up and if they start regarding people with disabilities as one of them, then the state has to follow as well, and they are going to facilitate them at some point. It cannot be that you just ignore such a large percentage of your own nations. You cannot deny anybody their basic rights, and access to employment, to education, access to lead a full, productive, dignified, graceful, independent life is a right for all of us, regardless of our gender, of our disability, of our ability, of anything. We all deserve that, and that change has to come. See, there you are, you guys are interviewing me, are talking about it, you've done your research, you're very well, you're up to date with a lot of issues that people with different abilities face. So see, baby steps, but let's see.
For families of differently abled to help them manage their daily lives?
See, day-to-day life, it's a very tough situation to be in when there is a person with special needs in the house. It's not easy, and it does not get accepted. But with love, with support, with faith in Allah, with anything can be possible. And medical science has made huge progress, and rehabilitation, and there is physical therapy, there's occupational therapy. Disability, it just takes time, but you learn how to live with it. It's just managing this whole new life that you have been given, or if you've been born with it. See, people with disabilities, they might not do a lot of things, but they can do so much as well, and not in the conventional ways, in different ways. I have no hand function, but I can use the laptop, so because I have found ways to do it. So it's all about adapting to this life, and it is tough, it is very, very tough, but don't give up. That's the only advice that I give everybody. Just don't give up too soon. You have it in you, you have the strength, you have the ability. Give yourself time, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself. You will make it through. Just it will come. Everything comes with time. You just don't give up too soon. Anything can be managed. See, we see people without any arms, they are painting with their toes. The opportunities, the possibilities, those are endless. It might not be the conventional way, but they do find ways to go about it.
The way.
Exactly.
Yes. You can really do anything if you put your mind. Tara, last question.
What advice will you give to academic institutions on educating students with respect to differently abled people?
Every school, every educational institute should have a specific percentage of people who have special needs, who have different abilities. See, diversity is the way to go. The future is going to be diverse. You cannot ignore a certain section of your society. You cannot all be like a like-minded group. Diversity brings in it. Everybody can benefit from it. You might learn something from me. I have learned so much from you. So it's a give and take sort of a relationship. And there is no one who's a superior or anybody is inferior just because of a thing that they have no control over. See, and education needs to be diverse and inclusive, and you cannot just shut out your institute to somebody just because they are different from you. That cannot be so. You cannot flourish, you cannot thrive if you have this mindset. It's as simple as that. It cannot be done.
That's right. Okay, great. Does anybody have any other questions to ask?
How can society help people with physical disabilities?
See, what the society can do is, first of all, be kind, show empathy, compassion. The first simple thing that anybody can do is, if you see somebody outside with a physical impairment, do not stare. You start from there, and the rest will follow. They are not different from you. They are not there. There is no show going on that you need to stare. if you feel that they need any help, you can always go up and ask, and be nice, be gentle, be polite. Just treat them like anybody else, like you would treat anybody else. There is no special favors that they want. There is no special treatment they do want. It's just a matter of just accepting them for who they are, as your equal. That is it, and that's what I always say. And sometimes it's not our own fault. We are just curious and we are a little bit surprised, and sometimes we are hesitant, and I see a lot of people who don't mean to come off as rude, but they somehow end up being rude just by staring because they're curious. So there is nothing that a smile cannot solve. If you feel like you want to ask anybody any question, like even right now, if you want to ask me any question, ask me anything politely. Don't judge me before you even know me, and you can ask me anything. If I'm not comfortable, I'll let you know. So there's always a way to ask. Be nice, be gentle, just, I don't know, be like you are with anybody else.
Just so that answers your question. Sana, thank you so much. This was great. I think the girls learned so much from you. Although they had seen your profile, but they had so many questions that only I think you would have been able to answer. And this was lovely, and I hope you girls learned a lot. And
no, thank you so much for having me, and I love
much more inspired
now.
now.
I always love to talk to students, and sometimes they are so well researched and they're so well prepared that they just sort of surprise me as well, and I'm left speechless. But it's always a pleasure to answer any sort of question, because I strongly believe like we need to have these conversations. We need to have conversations to spread awareness, to show how nothing is a big deal. It's just in our head that we've made issues out to be such big deals, and we are